Hello everybody, and thank you for your interest in this presentation. I am Isabela Dragomir, and together with my colleague Brândușa Niculescu, we represent the Nicolae Bălcescu Land Forces Academy of Sibiu, Romania. Our article, entitled Shaking the Brick and Mortar, Traditional versus Online Language Learning, aims to interpret and discuss military students' perceptions of using information and communication technology in the process of foreign language learning, starting from the answers our sample population provided to a questionnaire targeting this topic. The presentation that I am delivering today is structured as follows. First of all, an introduction will set the stage for a brief discussion of ICT as a modern support in education and the benefits it entails. Secondly, I will detail on the methodology used for this research with specific focus on the aim and objectives of this study, the method and the description of the sample population. The last part is dedicated to the interpretation of the research results and the discussions that prompted to the conclusion of this study. As an introduction, I would like to discuss one of the many implications of the pandemic-driven current situation, emphasizing the fact that one of the most impactful ramifications of COVID-19 is that it has created the largest disruption of education systems in history in most of the countries around the world. The concept of schooling has drastically changed, and instruction moved outside the traditional classroom environment and into virtual domains, more or less adapted to accommodate the flux of information and the requirements for specific knowledge and skills in such short notice. In this context, information and communication technologies, or ICT, have found an increasingly significant role in the process of teaching and learning alike. As a definition, information and communication technologies refer to all technical means employed to manage information and facilitate communication. More specifically, they include computer and network hardware, as well as complementary software. In 2012, Assebier and Enguach provided a complex definition of ICT which, from their perspective, incorporate all the tools, processes, equipments, and facilities that assure the physical infrastructure and the services that enable the generation, transmission, processing, storing, and disseminating of information in a variety of forms: voice, text, data, graphics, video, etc. Livingstone narrows the use of ICT to educational environments, including specific technologies such as DVD players, interactive whiteboards, data projectors, all of which are aimed at creating, managing, and disseminating information in the classroom. When it comes to the benefits of using ICT for English language teaching and learning, we can definitely assess that foreign language learning has benefited from the use of digital technology as a means of creating learning opportunities in differentiated and individualized contexts. While the traditional methods of teaching the four language skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, still remain important for language teachers, the use of ICT enables the modification of teaching and learning strategies in order to create a more student-centered learning environment. Secondly, computer, internet, smartboards, cell phones, and video games are used in the language learning process to raise students' motivation and language awareness. The implementation of ICT generates content variation, flexibility of contexts, and innovation opportunities in terms of pedagogical methods. Integrated technology in the foreign language classroom reduces learning anxiety and encourages students to take risks in practicing the target language in an environment that is closer to their digital native's profile. At this point, I would like to mention the fact that, in our experience at the Nicolae Bălcescu Land Forces Academy of Sibiu, ICT proved instrumental in providing education at all levels during the period of quarantine. Against this backdrop, and given the restrictions that forced instruction out of the traditional classroom, distance learning grew increasingly dependent on e-learning platforms. Our academy is using Moodle, a digital platform that provides all the necessary functions for organizing and conducting distance learning for the cadets. The platform has successfully allowed the continuation of the teaching and learning process while home, and has enabled students and faculty to remain in touch both synchronously and asynchronously. Through Moodle, professors and instructors were able to provide students with a wide variety of educational resources, live lectures, materials with bibliography, and working tasks, while students used the platform to access the suggested resources and submit their work for verification. This slide details on the methodology employed in conducting the research under discussion. The overall aim of the study was to gain a deeper understanding of the way Nicolae Bălcescu Land Forces Academy cadets experience and perceive the use of ICT in learning foreign languages in the newly created virtual environment imposed by online education. We aim to demonstrate that ICT's role is to facilitate and enhance the absorption of knowledge and skills that go in the construction of the modern officer's linguistic profile, tailored to cope with the challenges of international professional environments. By and large, the present study aims to identify the importance, role, and efficiency of computers and online resources in facilitating the acquisition and development of foreign language skills, and to analyze the different ways in which ICT determine positive outcomes of the learning process. In order to accomplish the proposed objectives of the study, the working method was informed by the use of the survey as an investigation tool, which relied heavily on the application of a questionnaire whose answers have been analyzed, interpreted, and discussed in the last section of the article. The interpretation of the obtained results underlines the conclusion that ICT is an important element of instruction and contributes greatly to the acquisition of foreign languages, while ensuring the consolidation of language-related skills and, to some extent, the expected level of performance. The participants in the survey were a representative sample of 30% of the cadets of our academy, enrolled in the Military Leadership Study Program, belonging to all 3 years of study and different military specialties and branches: infantry, mountain troops, reconnaissance, paratroopers. In turn, the target respondents belonging to the Military Leadership Program represent 30% of the total number of LFA students. The sample has subsequently been partitioned according to gender, 50 male students and 50% female students, in order to keep an unbiased approach in terms of sample population profile. Due to the current pandemic situation, the questionnaire was administered online. The students were open to answering the questions and highly motivated to share their experiences and contribute to the survey. After the questionnaire has been administered, the obtained answers were collected and the results were discussed specifically for each item separately. The interpretation of the answers draws together the outcomes of the survey and unifies the responses under a coherent conclusion meant to explain the role of ICT in the process of language learning. The underlying premise that the survey has started from is that all the Land Forces Academy cadets have received a laptop from the institution as part of their training resources package. Thus, the somewhat logical question of access to technology has an implicit affirmative answer. However, access to internet might represent a problem, naturally generated by the area of residence, urban versus rural, which does raise certain issues as far as internet reach is concerned. Consequently, the first question asked targeted the residence of the respondents, as we considered it relevant to differentiate between urban and rural environments in terms of access to internet. The distribution of the sample structure by resident is illustrated in the figure presented on the slide. It was satisfactory to discover that more than 2/3 of the respondents dwell in urban areas, which means that they have easy, unrestricted access to internet. As a result, this has a major impact on the students' learning opportunities of using ICT for distance education. Another question, open only for those who chose rural as their residence, prompted respondents to expand on how easy it is for them to get access to internet in the areas where they live. On a scale ranging from 1, impossible, to somewhat easy, and 3, very easy, 56% of the students from rural environment positioned themselves in the somewhat easy area, 38% in the very easy range, and only a small percentage of 6% at the extreme end of impossible. The ratio of the respondents with easy access to internet in rural areas demonstrate that there is a significant decrease of the discrepancies between the technical possibilities that used to typify the rural environment in comparison to the urban one, where all students have internet access. This indicates that ICT are easily accessible by almost all cadets, which means that the objective necessary prerequisites for their active involvement in the teaching-learning process are met. The following question refers to the amount of time military students spend using the computer. The figure on the slide provides a visualization of the answers. We can notice an increase proportionally correlated to the year of study, which indicates that, as they advance in their academic career, military students become more dependent on ICT. It is a consequence of the fact that their learning becomes progressively autonomous, especially towards the end of their study cycle in the third year, when most of the academic tasks are based on individual study and research. The previous question, related to the amount of time generally spent in front of the computer, narrowed down the experiences of the cadets to using computers to study or do research in a foreign language, English, French, German, or other languages. The answers to the question, in what language do you access online resources, demonstrate that, regardless of the study year, most of the research or learning training conducted online is done in English. Again, English is the language of choice among students, regardless of the year of study, but the interpretation of the answers also shows the popularity of the other NATO language, French, which cadets study at the academy alongside with German. It can be concluded that, irrespective of the type of information they may have to retrieve or study using ICT, cadets access it in a foreign language, which definitely contributes to a great extent to their linguistic improvement, albeit in an indirect manner. Question 4 was a good springboard for channeling the survey towards the topic of foreign language learning, with specific questions related to the attitudes and opinions of the cadets in what regards their experience with learning a foreign language by using ICT. For example, the item, using ICT in foreign language learning has a beneficial impact on me because, targets attitudes and opinions by prompting students to identify reasons in support of the statement that using ICT in foreign language learning is beneficial. The variables offered as predefined answers to this question, A to E, are presented on the slide. The chart illustrates the variation of answers received to this question, calculated by year of study and as a global score at the level of the entire study program. By correlating the information in the table with the graph, we discover a total score of 3.80 at the level of the military leadership program, with level per year of study increasing by 0.08 from the first to the second year, by 0.35 from the second year to the third, and by 0.43 between the first and the third year. This upward tendency shows that the positive perception of military students on the 5 variables increases as students progress in their academic journey, especially in the last year of study, which in turn demonstrates that the influence of ICT on the cadets' linguistic performance is also substantiated by the benefits they consider information technology has on their knowledge. It helps them stay more focused, gain autonomy, and grasp a better understanding of the content. The only identified downside of ICT relates to the limited opportunities of collaboration when solving tasks, as students might feel they need live interaction in order to accomplish different cooperative activities. This, however, does not come as a surprise, as the military is inherently an organization that is based on cooperation and that relies heavily on direct interaction between its members. To sum up, the analysis of the cadets' views regarding the use of ICT in foreign language learning has indicated a positive attitude towards technology and the benefits it entails. The computer, the internet, mobile phones, and other means used to foster foreign language learning provide a flexible and diverse set of technological tools while enhancing students' motivation, encouraging active and autonomous learning through research and self-study, facilitating language awareness, and creating a comfortable working environment. Despite the undisputed success of traditional methods, online learning is increasingly becoming an educational reality teachers and students should adhere to.